Welcome to the Deep Dive Books channel, where we hope you find something valuable every day.
This video addresses questions from several friends regarding David Yeager's book, 10 to 25, The Science of Motivating Young People. Below are our responses for your reference. Question 1. Regarding how to communicate with teenagers. I used to think, and honestly, I haven't completely shaken off this idea even now, that no matter how much we say or how we emphasize that, it's ultimately up to the other person to decide, aren't we still trying to persuade them? So, every time, I'd reach a certain point and then stop, leaving some room for the other person. Even though, deep down, I really do want to convince them. But finding that balance can be tricky sometimes, especially in examples like the one mentioned in this video. What's your take on this? In situations like this, should we keep pushing until the other person changes? Response. This question has been addressed by both ancient Chinese thinkers and modern Western philosophers. When it comes to persuasion, the most you should do is try 3 times. The Book of Rites says, as a subject, one should not remonstrate too openly. If you advise 3 times and are not heeded, then you should resign. As a child serving their parents, if you advise 3 times and are not listened to, then you should weep and follow them. The underlying principle is the same. If someone doesn't listen, don't force it. Adler, on the other hand, introduced the concept of separation of tasks. Advising is your task, whether they listen is their task. Once you've done your part, that's enough. It's the same with kids. You can lead the horse to water, but if it refuses to drink, you just have to accept it. I'd add one thing. Maybe that issue isn't as big a deal as you think. How major can a kid's decisions really be? Think about it. Steve Jobs didn't even formally finish college, and it all worked out. Life is long, and if mistakes are going to happen, it's better they happen when you're young. On the flip side, developing the habit of weighing pros and cons and making their own decisions from a young age is actually a great thing. How much can a kid who only knows how to obey their parents really achieve? Question 2. Regarding good mentors and great mentors, I hope you can elaborate on how young students, particularly from their perspective, can communicate with mentors, especially graduate advisors, to better grow and benefit. After all, many mentors don't possess the mindset of a qualified mentor, and young people can't expect them to change overnight. So, is there a way for those in a lower position to take initiative and make the most of it? Response. We previously discussed a case from Hitendra Wadhwa's book Inner Mastery, Outer Impact. It was about a young female chemist named Babette, whose paper was thrown into the trash by her hot-tempered, industry big-shot mentor. With just 35 seconds of conversation, Babette turned the situation around, softened her mentor's attitude, and got him to help revise her paper. This perfectly aligns with the principles we're talking about here. You can revisit that video for details, but I'll reiterate a few key points. Technically speaking, the first step in communication is to establish that we're on the same team. It's not you against me or me against you. It's us against the problem. This is the core principle of collaborative troubleshooting. When a mentor gets emotional, they might forget this, so it's up to you to remind them. I'm your student, and I deeply admire your expertise. That's why I've put in so much effort to learn from you, and I'm genuinely grateful for this opportunity. I have high hopes for you and for our collaboration. I'm not here to cause trouble. Of course, when you say this, your tone should be gentle. Take a cue from how Babette handled it. People with fiery tempers often have strong needs for self-esteem or control, perhaps even some inner insecurity. A few kind words or praise to affirm their authority can go a long way toward calming them down. Strategically speaking, while a mentor's shortcomings are primarily their own issue, if they aren't willing to change, it falls on the student to take the lead in shifting things. Let's put ourselves in their shoes. A mentor losing their temper isn't right, but at their core, they still want their student to succeed. They just don't know how to express it well. So, you should brush off the criticism and focus on getting constructive feedback. If your goal is to obtain useful input to improve, everything else is just noise. From a higher perspective, students can actually lead their mentors. Whoever has the stronger inner resolve and takes the initiative is the real leader. The one who'd be the protagonist if this story were turned into a TV drama. One practical tip is to offer your mentor more praise. We were raised to look down on subordinates who flatter their superiors, seeing it as morally weak, but that's not necessarily true. As we've covered in our channel, people like Kevin Kelly and Scott Adams argue that praising others is a virtue. Mentors have tough days too and could use some emotional uplift. Adler put it well. Praise, like criticism, is fundamentally a form of manipulation. It's training someone to act according to your wishes. From the highest moral philosophy, we shouldn't manipulate others. But since your mentor is already criticizing you, you've earned the right to praise them back. Manipulate them into a state where they feel too sheepish to keep criticizing you. Question 3. Regarding how to communicate better. What benefits does being a mentor bring to the mentor themselves? From an economic perspective, if there's no benefit, there's no incentive. Since we place such high demands on mentors, there must be some advantages that make people willing to take on the role. Response. The most direct benefit of being a mentor is that apprentices can help you get things done. Whether you're a painter or a scientist, apprentices handle the grunt work in the studio or lab, tackling detailed, labor-intensive tasks. So the mentor can focus on the big picture. With more apprentices, you can manage multiple projects at once, secure more funding, and publish more papers. You might even feel bold enough to take on riskier, high-stakes directions. The academic world often calls mentors bosses, and it's not meant as an insult. Mentors don't need to micromanage or teach students every step of the way. Most hands-on skills are picked up from senior lab mates or peers. Your job is to organize a group of bright young people, assign them tasks, and oversee their progress. They'll get the work done and often surprise you with their results. Of course, a good mentor should check in with each student at least once a week and be readily available for guidance, but that doesn't take much time. So, as long as you have funding, don't skimp. Recruit as many as you can. Leading them to success is your greatest achievement, and it's exactly what you wanted to do in the first place. There's also a hidden perk for mentors, though it's a bit crass to say, building a clique. The mentor-student relationship is one of the most significant interpersonal bonds. Whoever you bring into the fold automatically becomes part of your circle. They can't even betray you if they wanted to, because no one else would trust them. If your former students are scattered throughout a company or field, doesn't your word carry serious weight? Plus, watching your people grow is its own reward. Some diehard sports fans love youth team games because they want to nurture a star from the ground up. You see this awkward, reckless kid evolve into a standout figure. Through ups and downs or jaw-dropping moments. And it gives you a unique sense of pride, like following a TV series. Now imagine that person's growth came under your guidance. It's like playing a nurturing game. You teach them this and that, set them up to level up, help them gear up. Isn't that way more satisfying than raising a pet or betting on a rooster fight? Counting the capable hands you've got, plotting who to send out next to stun the competition. Doesn't that sound fun? Once you get this, it's easy to see why mentors are so protective. They cheer their students on, shield them from trouble. These are my people, don't mess with them. It's like Neza causing chaos out there, and Master Tai never scolding him, always having his back. The ultimate payoff for a mentor is reshaping the world with your ideas. I might not like the way things are run up in the heavens, but I'm too old to fight myself. So I train a few students, they go out and shake things up, flipping the world's rules on their head. Doesn't that mean I've won? Even if you're the unluckiest mentor ever and none of these rewards pan out, you still get one thing. Emotional value. Someone's willing to listen to you talk. For middle-aged or older folks, that's a pretty sweet deal. Question 4. Regarding how to cultivate inner motivation. How can we balance intrinsic drive and external incentives in practical teaching? Do students of different ages and backgrounds require different strategies? For example, are younger children more easily influenced by external rewards, while older students tend to develop intrinsic motivation as they grow? Additionally, how can we help teenagers who lack a clear sense of purpose or self-awareness find their own motivation to learn? Response. There's a theory that emerged in the 1970s and 1980s called self-determination theory, SDT, which remains highly regarded by scholars today and offers deep insights into human motivation. SDT has two particularly cool observations. The first insight is that to foster intrinsic motivation, where someone genuinely wants to do something from within, 3 psychological needs should ideally be met. 1. Autonomy. I'm doing this purely by my own choice, based on my desires, values, and interests. It's me in the driver's seat. 2. Competence. I'm good at this, and I have the skills to overcome challenges. 3. Relatedness. This helps me build emotional connections with others, boosts my sense of belonging, and fosters understanding. These needs apply to everyone, including kids, and external incentives often fail to satisfy all 3 at once. The second insight from SDT is that extrinsic motivation can gradually be internalized. This process happens in 4 steps. Let's take a child who doesn't want to go to school as an example. Step 1. External regulation. This is straight-up carrot-and-stick territory. Get the task done first, no questions asked. It's purely externally driven, with rewards for completion. For instance, if you're not late today, you can play 20 extra minutes of video games tonight. Step 2. Introject regulation. This focuses on relatedness and competence, essentially giving the child emotional value for completing the task. Look at you, going to school on time today. Tell me something fun that happened at school. Your teacher even praised you to me. Did you know that? Highlight a few positive moments. Step 3. Identified regulation. This is the key step in internalization, where the child starts seeing the task as their own personal goal. Here, you boost autonomy. For example, let them choose what to wear to school, co-create a morning routine with them, or add a little leaving for school ritual to make it special. Step 4. Integrated regulation. This is where the task merges with the child's life goals, aligning their behavior with their sense of self, completing the internalization. This step ramps up initiative. For instance, they could decide each morning, today at school, I'm going to do something. Like get a small win, maybe help a classmate or teacher. Guide them to reflect on their progress over time. That's the theory in a nutshell. I think the foundation of all this is that the child is willing to listen to you. Taking time to chat with them about their feelings or stories from school can make a big difference. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.